Doing today, it's your boy JJ Domination, and today we are here to talk about a very controversial but intriguing topic, and it surrounds the worst team in the NFL. It's not even a debate. I don't care about, oh, they have the same record as like 5 other teams. Yeah, I don't really care. The Miami Dolphins are the worst team in the league. The stats, the eye test, the tape. The Miami Dolphins fucking suck, okay? That's just the best way to put it. But we're going to be talking about a very controversial topic, not taco. Anyway, let's just get on with the video. This is like the second time I'm recording it. I made too many mistakes in the first shot of the video, so here I go. So, should the Miami Dolphins consider hashtag tank for Tua? That's the topic we're going to talk about, and it's way too early to talk about it. I know. I get it. Let him finish the season. Let him declare for the draft like we know he's going to do, and then have this discussion when the Miami Dolphins are like 1-15. Because believe it or not, Miami has done this before. They have been, I don't know about collecting draft picks, but they've done this shit before where they were so bad and they randomly won a game. Okay, the Miami Dolphins have done this before. I think it was like 2007, 2008. It was the year the Patriots and the Giants faced off the first time in the Super Bowl. I know that because they beat Baltimore. That was like the most off-the-wall shit ever. But, you know, it's my time as a football fan. But should the Dolphins consider tanking for Tua? I think it all depends on a couple of different variables. Number one, it depends on how the organization feels about Josh Rosen. Now, there's really not a whole lot you can take away because there's like no talent around him. Sure, you have an undrafted rookie who's been impressive, Preston Williams. Devontae Parker hasn't really... I mean, he's in a better position than guys like Laquan Treadwell or Josh Dotson, but the Dolphins have hung on to this dude and like hope and prayed that he would turn into this number one receiver, and the reality is he hasn't, because he is not a number one receiver. But they hoped that he would be that guy. But I don't know. It really just depends on how the organization feels about Josh Rosen, and it's all about the plan, the vision that the Dolphins have. They have all these draft picks. They have like 5 first-round picks over the next 2 seasons. I think 4 second-round picks over the next 2 seasons, and 3 third-round picks over the next 2 seasons. And also they're going to get some compensatory picks, I'd imagine. You know, I'd imagine they get some compensatory picks. The Patriots do that all the time. That's why they're, you know, have so many mid-round picks. But maybe the Dolphins take a page out of their book, since, you know, they have Brian Flores, after all, the former linebacking coach. It really depends, because with 3 first-round picks, you could definitely change the way that a team looks. You know, maybe instead of drafting Tua, you could draft an offensive lineman, a pass rusher, and a safety, or maybe you draft like a wide receiver, or, you know, you draft 2 offensive linemen and then like a stud safety. I don't know. There's so many different avenues you could take, but it really just depends, man. A lot of people are hyping up Tua, you know, calling him the left-handed Russell Wilson, which, no disrespect to Tua, but being a 6-foot-tall quarterback that can move around and throw, I mean, Russell Wilson's way more than that, you know, so I'd calm down on that a little bit. They compared Kyler Murray to Russell Wilson. I get why they did that to a sense. Tua, I mean, I don't know. I'm not feeling it like I was with Kyler Murray, but we'll see. I mean, I need to see him play more competitive teams. I mean, it's so easy to sit there and look at the film against teams like Citadel and be like, oh yeah, this guy can throw it all over the lot. Well, yeah, any quarterback can throw on goddamn Citadel. I mean, come on. Like, how do you look against LSU? You know, teams that you actually need to beat. How do you look against, hell, even a team like Texas A&M? How do you look against Auburn? You know, like, yeah, you beat those teams a lot, but, you know, we're going to look at the film. We're not going to look at box scores. We're not going to look at a highlight reel. We're going to watch your tape. We're going to see what Tua does on a consistent basis. You know, we're not going to look at the big throw you made in the playoff game against UGA, the national championship. You know, we're going to look at the entire thing. We're going to look at the fact that you took a sack before that. We're going to look at all the negative plays. We're going to look at how you couldn't really get anything going, and then you hurt your knee and Jalen Hurts had to save the day. I mean, we're going to be looking at that kind of stuff. It's not just, oh, he can throw for 500 yards against made-up colleges. You know, it's going to be, all right, what do you do against stiffer competition? Because when you get to the NFL, yeah, you have a team like Miami that's actively trying to tank, but in all reality, every team just about, with the exception of 4 teams every year, it seems like, every team's going to compete whether they know they're better than you or they're not. They're going to give you the best. That's why you have quote-unquote trap games in the NFL, because even though their record says that they're bad, it doesn't mean that they're bad. You know, not necessarily. Like, for example, right now as of recording this, Denver's 0-3, but I can promise you there's a huge difference between Miami being 0-3 and Denver being 0-3. At least Denver's been in every ball game. You know, Miami hasn't been in a ball game. They haven't been in a quarter. But here they are beating the Chargers. The Chargers have bad luck. I don't really know what to say about them. But it really just comes down to how the organization feels about Josh Rosen and what their plan is. Because I feel like if you're going to collect all these picks, you have to have a plan. You have to have a vision. You can't just collect picks for the sake of collecting picks. You have to have a real plan. And I feel like once the regular season ends, they're going to start looking into that. Because they ain't making no playoffs, you know, so they're going to start looking into it. And I'd imagine they're going to find the guys that they like. They're going to look all over the country. I'd imagine the bigger schools, though, since they're going to have that high of a pick. And they're going to look around. I mean, the strengths of this team, I mean, they have Xavier Howard, okay? So they have a good corner. But, let's see, they have a couple of nice young linebackers and Raekwon McMillan and Jerome Baker. They have Christian Wilkins, a nice D tackle who, if they're running a 3-4 defense instead of a hybrid, I mean, he'll be a good defensive end. I don't know about a strict nose tackle. You know, so you have a couple of pieces in place on defense, but you need safety help. You could use some more corners. You know, it never hurts to add more corners. You could use pass rush. I mean, it's arguably your biggest weakness outside of offensive line. You can add another receiver. You know, bring in better running backs that aren't as, you know, overrated and overhyped as Kenyon Drake. You know, that would help. But it really just depends. For me, like, I liked Josh Rosen coming out of college. I had him as the second quarterback when I did my rankings behind Baker. Now in the NFL, he's been like the 5th best quarterback from the top 5. So yeah, he hasn't aged well, but he's also been in like the worst situation out of all of them, and he wasn't even the first one drafted. So there's that. Yeah, Josh Rosen, what made him so special to me is the fact that he threw a very good football. Like, the accuracy, the touch. I mean, he just threw a really good football. Like, he was good at football. You know what I'm saying? And I compared him to Sam Bradford and Jared Goff. Those were, like, my 2 main comparisons. Because Goff, you know, throws the football pretty well. And, you know, he's kind of a poor man's Matt Ryan. He's not as good as Matt Ryan, because there are things that make Matt Ryan better than Jared Goff, but you can see the similarities in the way they play. Matt Ryan throws a pretty good football as well. Maybe not as deep as Jared Goff, but, you know, how many times have we really seen both quarterbacks rip it? You know, like, if they were allowed to just rip it, they would. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they wouldn't hold back. But the way that I look at this situation with Miami, it's going to take more than the quarterback. The quarterback position is the one that you want to get right. So if you mess the quarterback position up, I mean, you just set yourself back even more. Because if you don't have the quarterback right, I mean, you can only get by with so much. You know, you look at a team like Chicago, they're blessed to have a great defense, a great weapons around their quarterback, and a pretty above average offensive line. But yet the quarterback is just not the guy, just based on what we've seen. I don't think Mitchell Trubisky's garbage. I don't think he's as bad as like Blake Bortles, but imagine if that were Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes or, you know, I don't know, insert 2018 draft quarterback here. I mean, imagine if it was one of those guys. Imagine Josh Rosen with the weapons and the offensive line that Chicago has. He'd be pretty good. He'd be, you know, a poor man's Jared Goff. He'd be pretty good. So, you know, I mean, there's that. So if this team believes in Josh Rosen, they think, hey, we can build a skill set around him, that would be pretty good. That'd be pretty fitting. But it all really just depends. It really just depends. And I know I keep saying that, but it's the truth. I don't really know how to put it into words at certain points when it comes to talking about this. I mean, Tua's an intriguing prospect. He's left-handed. He's like 6 foot tall. I think 6'1" maybe. And, you know, he does throw the football pretty well. And, you know, he does have that knee injury as well, so that's going to work against him. They're going to look at the fact that he's a little smaller, but you have guys like Russell Wilson and Drew Brees who have had success. Hell, even Case Keenum's managed to have a job. Kyler Murray so far isn't looking too bad. I know they're not winning, but statistically and based on the film, he hasn't looked too bad either. I mean, he did throw some picks against Carolina, but come on, rookies are going to throw interceptions all the time. That's just how the NFL works. You know, you're going to get baited into some throws you wish you had back. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's all I could really say. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. And let me know where you stand on the whole tanking for Tua thing. Do you think Miami should tank for Tua? Or Trevor Lawrence, who I didn't even talk about, who is eligible to come out in 2021? Or should they just, I don't know, be a real team and believe in their young quarterback who they traded a 2nd round and a future 5th round pick for, and Josh Rosen, and build around them with the 3 first round picks? That seems like the smart thing to me. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and peace out, guys.